everybody. Welcome to Hidden Gems Podcast, the show where we like to take a streaming service and suggest some hidden gems on that service. And it's a lot of fun. We do it every week. And I'm film critic Rachel Wagner, and Ryan is here.
Hey, Rachel. It's great to be with you once again. And I hope that you had a great Thanksgiving. My Thanksgiving was out of this world. Like, I could not have asked for a better few days. I rested and had a lot of food, ingested a lot of media because it seems like December's just like, I thought October was busy, but my God, it's like December's like, put it all there. It's like,
Yeah. Yeah, especially for me, it is just so busy because not only do we have all the Christmas content, but also have all of the Oscar content because the associations that I'm in, they have their awards voting in December, so they give the awards out in January, and I have to have all of the, as much as possible, have the Oscar movies watched by the end of this week, and so yeah, it's a lot.
is Belfast in the conversation?
Belfast in the conversation for sure.
Because I saw it last night with my dad,
Yay.
and I loved it. I loved every minute of it.
It's a very crowd pleasing, charming film. I think I would be surprised if it didn't win Best Picture. I think it's something. Sometimes movies will lose their not motivation, but their momentum. That's what I'm like for momentum. When you get closer to the awards date, but I feel like right now it's the front runner, and it's good.
Because Belfast won at TIFF, right? It won the top prize there.
Yeah, I think so. I'm not positive, but I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
It really does speak to Kenneth Branagh to go from one of the worst movies of 2020 in Artemis Fowl to going to possibly one of the best movies of 2021 in Belfast.
Yeah.
That's a bit of a bounce back, I'd say.
Yeah. And it's a great movie for the cinema lover in your life because it's a lot about how movies helped kind of narrate the little boy's life and provide joy. I did a video on my channel where I compared Belfast to Cinema Paradiso, and I think that there's a lot of similarities between the two. So if you haven't watched that one, I think you'd enjoy checking that out and comparing the two. So yeah, I'm glad you got to see it.
Yeah, Belfast taught me three things about Kenneth Branagh. He's seen High Noon more than once. He loves Thor, the comics Thor, and he says something. He directed that movie, and he loves him some Van Morrison. Like seriously, there are like 5 or 6 Van Morrison songs in here, and I was just like jamming because Van Morrison is awesome. So when these songs were coming on, I'm like, is that Van Morrison again? All right.
Yeah. I liked the songs. I felt that sometimes they didn't quite fit the scene that they were in a little bit if I was going to have a critique, but they were still fun songs. So
that's fair, but I give Branagh credit for not going for the easy choice of doing Moondance because every movie that's like, what's a Van Morrison song? Moondance. It's like that's their go-to. Like dig a little deeper into the catalog.
Yeah. It just didn't seem very Irish to me.
But, yeah, I can see that, but I dug it.
Mm-hmm. It was a good movie. So yeah, did you get any other movies watched over the holiday weekend?
I saw House of Gucci, and my problems with that movie are similar to when I saw The Eyes of Tammy Faye. Like the acting is good, however, this needs to be like an HBO style miniseries because there's so much stuff in both of those movies. Like just in House of Gucci alone, there's like the stuff with Paolo and Jared Leto, my word, and that whole thing. And then there's all the rights, and then there's the Avesticor stuff, and just everything just sort of happened.
A lot going on.
And it's like it feels like it's given a little bit of attention, and it's almost never mentioned again. It feels like if they give this like say like the Borgias treatment. Like there was a Borgias series on Showtime that I've seen clips of that was really good. If they really dedicated it to that, maybe like a 6 to 8 episode series, I think it would have succeeded a lot better.
does seem like the kind of thing that Ryan Murphy would do, like American Crime Story, obviously Italian Crime
Yeah.
Story, like
Hmm.
he did with the Versace
Right.
murders, I think, or something like that. It seems like it would be perfect for that. But I had an interesting experience. I went to see House of Gucci on Friday at the theater, and with about 25 minutes left in the movie, all of a sudden there's the siren and the screen goes white and it says there's an emergency, please evacuate the building immediately. We're all like, what?
Oh,
And
what
so
happened?
we did, and there, I guess the fire department was there. There was some kind of fire, and I didn't see like any smoke or anything. Or my friend said she felt like she smelled some kind of smoke. I didn't notice that, but anyway, and but the weird part is I haven't seen. I've been looking on the theater social media. I've been looking on because they evacuated everybody, the workers, everyone. They were like, go home, and I haven't seen anything on, like, I watched the local news. I don't know. You think something like that, like a major theater, would have something, some kind of news or something. But anyway, so that was interesting. I've only ever been evacuated two other times. One time was when I was watching the movie Room with Brie Larson.
Oh,
The
yeah.
Yeah, and have you seen that movie?
It's been a minute, but I know the one you're talking about.
Well, there's this like really climactic moment in the movie where the little boy is has to jump out of this truck,
Hmm.
and it was literally then that the screen cut. And I mean, I was
Wow.
lucky because I had already read the book, and so I knew what the story was, and otherwise I would have just been like, ah, like what? Because it was just like they built it and like got you to the ledge and then out. But that one we did actually get to start again, and they didn't. I think it was a false alarm, so we were able to start it. So all's well that ends well. But that was intense. It was such an intense spot to leave you at. And
Hmm.
then the other time that I got evacuated was actually when I went to see Avatar with my brother.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I forget where in the movie it was, but yeah, we got evacuated out, and so we didn't get to see the rest of Avatar, but I think I went and saw it. I'm not sure with him because I was visiting my family, but anyway, I eventually got to see the rest of Avatar. But it's a wild experience when it happens. It's very surreal.
Well, two things that I will say is number one, the theater that's about 5 minutes away from me, it opened in 2009. The first movie I saw there was Avatar with my dad. It was in the big theater before they turned it into an RPX. Like that's how old I am, kids. And number two, I know someone. He's a friend of my friend who's a teacher. They take like pulling fire alarms very seriously. So if it was like legit, then they would pull it. And if it was a false alarm, then someone was probably getting. So I
Yeah.
imagine that it would have been pulled for a pretty serious reason.
Yeah, no, I think it was. I mean, I don't think that they would have evacuated all of the employees if it wasn't, if it was, something like that. Anyway, it was an interesting experience. Get to see that every day, and of course, like the sad part is you immediately go to, oh my gosh, is there a shooting? Is there, what is happening?
Oh yeah.
Which is sad that that's immediately kind of where you go, but there it is. So I don't know I mean, I know the end of House of Gucci because of enough kind of what I've read from other people and stuff, but I didn't get to see it. So I wrote up just a little paragraph, but I didn't put it on Rotten Tomatoes because I didn't, because a lot of people said, oh, the ending is very good, but I think it's like true to life. I think that's what happened.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So anyway, there you go. That was an interesting experience. But we today, which service are we talking about today for Hidden Gems?
We're going to be talking about Kanopy, and this is episode 6 of Kanopy, and this is low key my favorite streaming service going. It's if I've said it before, I'll say it again. It's one of those services that is just you can go on it and you can find like the smaller movies that you may not have seen. Like I live in Port Orange, Florida, and we're a pretty small-ish city. We're not huge, but we're not small. But we're not really that privileged enough to get, like, say, Parasite. We didn't get Parasite until 6 months after it got released. So they're very slow on the draw. So with a service like Kanopy, it's great. Not only is it free, you can get it with a library card, but you can get smaller movies and world movies like French and Japanese kind of stuff. You can get they're slowly adding more documentaries on there and the History Channel stuff. The Chosen, which I'm not sure, Rachel, if you're familiar with that, but Durban is covering a lot of it. Like that show's on there now.
Oh, is it? I didn't see that. That's great.
I've had it in my watch list forever, and I've been meaning to get to it, but I just never have. If
I
there's
have to
one,
finish season 2, but I really liked season 1.
if there is one point of concern that I have been seeing, it's that they've been slowly adding more popular stuff on there. Like I believe in the last episode I mentioned the Terminator was on there, which I love the Terminator, but why is it in the same service as like an A24 like kind of thing? And just in this time, I saw the Silence of the Lambs in there, like the Anthony Hopkins, Jodie Foster, like that one. And I love that movie to pieces. It's one of my favorite horror movies, but I don't know, it kind of makes me feel like it's going against Canopy's like mission of finding smaller things. So if it's an
Yeah.
attention thing, fair play. But I mean, at the same time, I don't know. I don't know. It just weirds me out a little.
Yeah. I mean, at least both of those movies are very important movies.
Oh, sure,
You
sure.
know what I'm saying? So that may
Mhm.
be why they say, we're gonna have them because they made like a real difference to cinema,
Yeah,
maybe.
that's a good point.
Yeah.
And there are movies on here like Chinatown. I mean, we all know what Chinatown is, so I'm not arguing it there. So
Yeah.
it's a very fine line
Right.
because some very popular movies were also trailblazers. So it's like, what do you put on there for like the film student, but also if you want eyeballs on your site, what else do you put on there? It's a perfect balance that they're trying to achieve.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, why don't you go first? What is your first pick?
So my first choice is from 1940, or I'm sorry, 1958. It's a submarine movie, and it is called Run Silent, Run Deep. This is one of my father's favorites. He and I watch it all the time. It's one of those where it's like my dad's like, "Hey, Run Silent, Run Deep is on. I'll be right there." Like it's one of those types. It starred Clark Gable and Burt Lancaster, as well as Jack Warden and a couple of other really famous character actors from like the late 40s through the 60s. It tells the story of a submarine captain who gets his sub destroyed by Japanese U-boats, or not U-boats, but submarines. And so he gets called back into action and is out for revenge. And he tries to disguise this mission as more of a fact-finding kind of thing, but his second officer, played by Burt Lancaster, kind of catches on pretty quick that this is more of a revenge mission than an actual, like, we're just trying to do a job here. Um, this is this was directed by Robert Wise, who I've brought up a lot on this show. He's one of the more versatile directors I've ever seen. He can go from directing something like West Side Story to Star Trek: The Motion Picture to something like The Old Dark House and everything in between. He was like an expert at jumping between really dark stuff and light stuff, going from sci-fi to musicals and just everything in between. And he did it well. And Run Silent, Run Deep is a movie that for understandable reasons it's a bit obscure. It really doesn't get a ton of love nowadays, but I think it really should. Because there's a lot of great submarine action, but at the end of the day, it's a verbal battle between Clark Gable, who was on a bit of a downslope from being the number one man in Hollywood, but still good, and Burt Lancaster, who was on the ascent. And the two just having two generations like going at it with each other. It's really great stuff. And this is a submarine movie, and there's a lot of submarine drills. However, you get the point of, okay, he's making sure these guys are prepared, because when you're on a submarine, you got to have a fifth, sixth, and a seventh sense, because anything can happen out there. And at the end of the day, this is a really underrated war movie, and I think more people should be aware of it.
Yeah, I have never heard of this movie. I sounds really fun. I had never, till you put it on the list, I had never heard of it before.
Yeah, they go after subs in the Bongo Straits. That's literally the name of where they're going in the movie. It makes me laugh every time, because it's like, we have a mission in the Bongo Straits, and it's like, uh, the bon. Are you sure you don't want to rename that? It's like how in the new Godzilla movie they talk about the nuclear test on the Bikini Islands, and my lizard brain's like, bikini.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't, like I said, I had, like, I feel like most of these kind of movies I've at least heard, even if I haven't seen a, but this one I had never heard of it before. So that's a perfect hidden gem pick. Very good. All right. Well, my first pick is one of my favorite movies of this year, actually, that's already on Kanopy, which is exciting. It's a movie called Together, Together. And I feel like maybe some of my picks I might have mentioned. I don't know. I've lost track of kind of what, whether, what podcast I talk about what things on. But this movie, I really, really, really enjoyed it. And it's very rare that you get a story about platonic friendship, platonic love, and that's what you get here. You have Ed Helms, his character. He is a single man who is having decided to have a child, and so he has. There's a woman that via surrogate is having his child, and so it's their story. The Anna and Matt are their names, and they're sort of going through this experience together, becoming friends. And I just loved it. I thought the script was so great, and I really thought their friendship was wonderful. And I actually liked it so much that my friend Elisa Lucas, who studies friendship for her job, she is actually a communications professor with her research emphasis is on friendship. And so every month for Hallmarkies podcast, Elisa and I, we have a series, we have a show called On Friendship, where we discuss usually a Hallmark movie from the perspective of friendship. But this one, because it was about platonic friendship, and that's so unusual, I decided that we should talk about it for one of the episodes, and we had a great discussion. I'll put a link in the description, but yeah, we had a great discussion about friendship and about the movie, and she loved it, and I loved it. It's definitely will end up on my top 10 of the year. I really thought it was good. And so, yeah, you can watch it on a Kanopy for free.
You did. I remember. Maybe it's because I went to a really technical college, but I don't remember. I don't remember a class on friendship being offered. And I'm
Yeah.
not trying to make fun. I was just thinking to myself, wait, her job is to analyze friendship?
Yeah, she's a communications professor, and she teaches a whole class on unhealthy friendship, where she talks about lying and other things like that. And
Yeah,
yeah, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. So
yeah. I've been
yeah,
involved in one of those, so I can definitely see the benefit of having a class on that.
yeah,
As far as this movie goes, I remember seeing it out, but I believe it was only in my luxury, and it was just at the time where I just didn't have the time to see it. But now it's on Canopy, so I have no excuse not to now.
yeah. I think you'll like it. It's very sweet, very charming, and has a good heart to it. So I recommend it. I think you'd like it. So, what is your next pick?
So my next choice is a mockumentary. It's from 1996, and it is called Waiting for Guffman. This is directed by Christopher Guest, and like I said, it is a mockumentary. It tells the story of a Broadway director named Corky St. Clair, who has relocated to the town of Blaine, Missouri. And Blaine, Missouri is one of those towns, like, if it existed in the Cars universe, like, it would be that town where you would get bypassed just to save 10 minutes of driving. It's like the ultimate, like, small of small towns. However, Corky is looking to finally make his big break on Broadway, because he was there. However, he took his art a little too seriously. I won't go too deep into spoilers, but there's a bit of a plot where he mentions that he did a version, I believe, a retelling of the Great Chicago Fire, something like that. I haven't watched it in a while, so I'm not entirely sure on all the details. But anyway, he set the theater on fire for ambiance sake, and that's a pretty big no in the Broadway world, in case you didn't know. This movie has no right to be as good as it is, and I watched it on a complete whim because I was trying to watch all of the movies released in 1997, and I got all the way up to the first week of December, so I got pretty close. However, this was released in like late 96, and I didn't know about it until I was done with it. And I was shocked at how good it was. Not only is Christopher Guest in here, but also Bob Balaban's in here, Catherine O'Hara's in here, who is the mom from Home Alone, among a bunch of other things. She's fantastic. Eugene Levy, who I believe is in that one show on Showtime. I can't. Schitt's Creek.
Yeah, Schitt's Creek. And
He's
so is
in that.
Catherine O'Hara.
Oh, really? I had no
Yeah.
idea.
Yeah.
Fred Willard is in there. It's stuffed to the gills with like comedic character actors. And the mockumentary style can be a bit of a gamble. However, they really do make it work. And you just look into these people's lives and realize that you're lucky you know them from a distance, but if you were to actually know them, you'd probably stay far away from them because they're low key kind of creepy. But to
Is
the
this your
movie,
first Christopher Guest comedy? If
I
you've seen Best in Show or Mighty Wind or
no, I have not.
maybe this one. Okay, good. So you are entering a joyous time because they are so good. I love his movies, and Best in Show is one of my favorite comedies to ever exist. It is so hilarious about this dog show, and he has the same sort of troupe of people that he uses over and over again. All those people that you mentioned are in all of his. And the thing that's amazing is they have, I think it's like 60-40 of script versus improv. So like a lot of the movie is improv when
That
they would
makes a
work
lot of
together.
sense.
Mm-hmm. And they're the best. I love Waiting for Guffman so much. It's so funny. And I think it might have been their first time working together. And then they did, like I said, Best in Show and Mighty Wind, which is all about a reunion of folk singers, folk band. And
Oh,
then which is really good. And then they have one called For Your Consideration, which is all about it's the least funny of the ones, but it's still funny. And especially as a critic now, I think it's especially funny. It's Catherine O'Hara plays this actress who is in this movie, and they have this Oscar campaign for her. And the movie starts out, it's called Home for Purim, which is a Jewish holiday. And by the end, it just gets whittled down, 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 down. And it ends up being Home for Thanksgiving. And Ricky Gervais is like this agent person. He's so funny, and he's trying. He's like, I don't know, that's very Jewish. And he's like, and
it's Ricky Gervais, so of course it's going to be fantastic.
yeah, and Jennifer Coolidge is like, why don't you call it Home for Easter? Everyone loves bunnies.
That's not how Easter works. That's not how any of this works.
It's very funny. And so yeah, I love Waiting for Guffman too. I love how it's just so sweet and so sincere, but also hilarious. And
Mm-hmm.
I feel like everybody knows a theater geek who's like, who could do this, who we could picture like
Yeah.
this. I know I could.
I remember
sure.
when I was watching this for the first time, I was like, I know about 3 of these people. Thankfully, they're nicer than this, but I know about
Yeah.
3 of these people.
Yeah.
Just thank God
So
that most movie characters are like people you know, but with like the volume turned up to 11.
yeah. I mean, and they have this is Spinal Tap, but that was actually directed by Rob Reiner, but it's kind
Mm-hmm.
of, this has the same crew of people, and it's the same idea of like a mockumentary. But then Christopher Guest would then kind of get them all together. Waiting for Guffman, Best in Show, Mighty Wind, For Your Consideration. They did one for Netflix. I never saw it, called Mascots, but I should finally watch that. But anyway, there. This is Spinal Tap is hilarious too.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. It's
Have
been a
you seen
minute.
that one?
It's been a minute, but I did see it, and yeah,
Every
they
time the drummer gets struck by lightning,
they get stuck in their little like cage
ridiculous.
thingamajiggers when they're entering, and the whole gimmick where they're going to the stage, they're like, "Hello, Cleve." Oh, this is not the stage.
Right. Oh my gosh! And Fran Drescher is in This Is Spinal Tap. She has a little role, and so
Of course she
yeah,
is.
that's right. Anyway, good choice. I love that movie. So my next pick is pretty popular in a lot of circles, but I still think it counts as a hidden gem. Is Sing Street, and Sing Street is a movie that I love and adore. From 2016, this is by director John Carney, and John Carney loves writing movies about music, and in particular musicians. And he has Once, which is wonderful, lovely little movie, and then Begin Again, which is still good, but not as good as his other two. And then Sing Street, and Sing Street I just love so much. It's basically about this teenager in Dublin, and he has to go to this new school where they're really rude and terrible. And he meets this girl, and he wants to impress the girl. And so he tells her, he says, "Will you be in my music video for my band?" And she says, "Okay." The only problem is he doesn't have a band. So he has to make a band with his friends. And the songs are so good. They're incredible. And it's so sweet. I love the romance. I love the relationship between the boy and his brother. I love Jack Rayner as his brother. It's so good. And it's one of my favorite movies, not just one of my hidden gems. I love Sing Street so much.
Yeah, this was one that I heard about, but it never got anywhere close to me because I think we got an opera around that same time, and I
Well,
heard nothing but
it got caught up in the whole Weinstein mess, unfortunately,
oh,
because it was released by them, had been produced by them,
oh,
and so that's part of the problem. Was it didn't get the campaign that it should have, because it was right during the mess, which
yeah.
sucks because it deserved more.
It's like that and Wind River. Like Wind River is an awesome movie and nobody talks about it. And you brought up the whole Weinstein thing. I'm like, oh yeah, that did happen around
Yeah,
the same time.
at the very least, Sing Street should have been nominated for best song. I mean, ridiculous. And that year was the year of La La Land, so, and Moana. So I'd understand those getting in, but there was a song by Sting about a chair that got picked over Sing Street, and I will never forgive them.
Like, wait, we're talking about like the police, like
Yeah,
that's
like that Sting. There was a song about a chair, then beat out Sing Street. I was so mad. I still am mad. It's ridiculous. Yes, so there we go. But it's a great movie. I love it. Absolutely love it. So you should see it. So what's your next pick?
so my next choice is going all the way back to 1931. And this is a movie that I reviewed for Scary Mania. I knew of its reputation, but when I finally saw it, it was like, I get it. I understand why. It's called M. This was directed by Fritz Lang. It's a German movie. And M is widely considered to be the first movie revolving around a serial killer. I'll say up front that this is not exactly an easy watch, taking aside the black and white aspect and the fact that it's all in German, so that might be a little like I'm not reading no subtitles, but there are some people out there. However, the content can be very troubling, uh, as Peter Lorre, who was a great actor, like from the 20s through the 50s and beyond, like he essentially plays a child murderer. So there's immediately some people who are like, no way. But I if you give the movie a chance, it is incredibly well made. Fritz Lang made Metropolis, which I've also recommended on this show. It was so inspirational to so many directors, from like Ridley Scott to George Lucas and everywhere in between. And not only is M widely considered the first serial killer movie, but it's also could be widely considered to establish the first like crime procedural movie. Like the movie all revolves around a manhunt, and of course we all know what a manhunt movie is. This is kind of like the manhunt movie Rosetta Stone, if you will. And the movie also works when you consider the fact that Fritz Lang was kind of a jerk, so and treated the actors very badly. There's a particular scene where Peter Lorre is in pain, and because he had to do this one scene where he fell down the set of stairs 10 times. Now you fall down stairs one times, it's terrible, but you have to fall down 10 times, like you can only imagine. And some of the acting, you can't tell if it's really Peter Lorre just being like, I'm so done with all of this, or if it's the character. It's a bit of black and white. So if you do watch this, I recommend a good amount of caution. However, I do recommend it. It is a piece of horror history. Like 1931 was such an excellent year for horror. Dracula, Frankenstein, and also M, all in the same year. Like, it is a loaded year.
Another one I had never heard of. I had not heard of this movie, so that's very interesting. It sounds like an interesting watch.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like I said, definitely of its time. So more modern cinephiles are going to be like, I don't know, but trust me, give it a shot. It
Yeah.
is it's far scarier, and its social commentary is done better than like half the horror movies I've seen this year. So that really says something.
Yeah. Interesting. Well, my next pick is a movie that the next three movies are movies that I talked about on the Criterion Project with my friend Conrado. So if you want to check that out, you should. We had some really good discussions. And this one is The Red Shoes is my next pick. And this is from 1948. And this, amongst cinemaphiles, this is very popular. Probably wouldn't be considered a hidden gem, but I think amongst the average population, it was really less known. But this is a really good movie. If you like, which I know you do, if you like movies like Whiplash, I think that you would like this movie, because it's about this dancer who is being pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed, and she wants to be the greatest dancer that but then she falls in love, and so then she's sort of forced of like, what do I do? Do I give myself to the dance, or do I allow myself to be in love as well? And so it's absolutely stunning. The dance sequences are really beautiful. She has these red shoes that kind of have powers of their own in a way, and so the dancing is incredible. Cinematography is really great. It's a beautiful movie, and it's a long movie. It's maybe a little too long, but I still definitely recommend it. It's very good.
Well, you know me, I love me some Whiplash. I mean,
Yeah.
that movie's kind of the reason why we started this whole thing.
Right.
So it's so anything related to it, I'm immediately interested in.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like directly, but just in the sense of like
Yeah,
obsession and how much do you give of yourself to something like that. So I think you'd like it.
yeah. Even though Whiplash is an original idea from Damien Chazelle's head, like in a certain way, everything is inspired by something. So like you
Right.
could really say that nothing is truly original. It's like the characters can be original and the story can be like, or the premise can be original, but just the core story can be like interpreted or reinterpreted from some other thing. It's
Yeah.
it's the quality that really matters ultimately.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So what's your next pick?
So my next choice is a mini series from 2012, and like I said, Kanopy started to add more content from the History Channel, which can be a bit of a mixed bag. However, this is one of their better series, and it holds a lot of memories for me because I actually watched this as it was coming out. It's a series called Mankind, the Story of All of Us. And This is a bit of a spin-off of a similar series they did called America, the Story of Us, which is all about American history. Instead, they cover everything from the Big Bang up to about 2011, 12-ish. So they cover a lot of ground. However, I think they do a very admirable job of trying to cover just everything that happened in the human race and
Uh,
not lingering on one thing too long, but saying this thing happened here, which led to this thing happening here, and like the invention of like copper into tin, and then tin into steel, and so on and so forth. The series is narrated by Josh Brolin, which, considering the fact that people know him today as Thanos, the guy who wiped out half of humanity, it's rather ironic for him to narrate a series about humanity. I think
right.
that I think that's a bit ironic, but he does a great job. He's got a voice, like the voice that he has is just excellent. And ultimately, I what I love about this show is that the talking heads are good and it touches on like it gives you a little bit of everything. It doesn't just focus on like one period for a really long time, jump and then focus on another thing. I legitimately learned stuff from happening. Like I remember there was this one Chinese emperor, I can't think of his name, but he took mercury because he felt like that would keep him immortal. It wouldn't, but it was fascinating. But under his watch, gunpowder was invented. So much like most things in life, bad things happen, but out of the bad, a lot of good can happen as well. So it's
Yeah.
ultimately up to us what we do with it.
Yeah, I saw the American one of that, but I've never seen this one. And the American one was like a tiny bit gimmicky. It had like a lot of celebrities and stuff like Donald Trump, I remember was on there and
Oh
things
yeah,
like that.
that was before the whole president thing. And I
Yes.
like I at the time I was like, oh, that was the guy from Monday Night Raw. Oh, those were the days. But anyway, that's neither here nor there.
Yeah, it had Trump, it had Hugh Hefner, it had just some weird people
Oh
I
yeah,
had
the
that
Hef
included.
was in that one. I own the DVD. I have not watched it in years. I really should watch it again just to see like
Yeah.
not like make fun of the history or anything because like that can be a whole different thing, but just how the show was put together.
It'll be interesting to see this other one for sure. So interesting pick. Well, my next pick is called the Black Stallion, and this is definitely, I admit it, it's a stretch for hidden gem, but hopefully it's kind of old enough that maybe some people have missed it. But this is one of the most iconic family films to ever be released, and it is about a young boy who gets to become friends on a ship with a black stallion that's a wild horse. And then they get shipwrecked and they become friends. Then they help each other survive until they are rescued, and they have just this very powerful bond. And it's a beautiful story. It has a really famous score. The music is very well known. I think it won maybe even best score or cinematography. The cinematography is beautiful, but it's a great movie. I mean, it's the standard by which all boy and his horse or boy and his dog, yet in Old Yeller, kind of the standards that all other movies that have been released since are gauged by. It's great.
Yeah, I've always heard about this one. I just have never seen it. I keep confusing that with this one other horse movie. I think Disney did it. It was like Flicka or no, it wasn't
Oh,
Flicka.
my friend Flicka.
Yeah, that one.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Hmm.
Well, and then there's others. There's others. National Velvet, that would have been before this. Um, so there's some others obviously because this is 1979, but this one is very famous. So yeah, you should. It's if you get a chance, you should check it. It's really good. But what is your last pick?
So my last choice is probably going to be my most controversial choice on my list. It's from 2017. It's a horror movie called It Comes at Night. Now, when this came out, I think this was my first real exposure to like people being divided, like in terms of like people either loving it or absolutely hating it. And as usual, I can understand both points of view. It's weird, when people say a movie is divisive, and I actually watch it. I can understand both points of view. I can't say like, oh, one's clearly in the wrong, because I guess I have an understanding that like all movies are subjective and people will watch one thing differently than the other. That's how it is. However, I guess I fell into the love it side of It Comes at Night, because atmosphere is really the key here. It tells the story of a family who is hiding away from a hidden disease. The disease is never really explained. However, it contributes to people actively going crazy. And so the movie does a good job of balancing of the, is there actually a disease, or is it like some kind of cabin fever, or maybe it could be both. The movie has truly disturbing dream sequences. Like, my mind was blown when I first saw this, and I was like, this movie stayed with me for quite a bit. And like I said, I can understand, because there are people who actively just do not like this movie. They think it's slow and boring, and I can totally understand why. However, this is one of those movies where I was like, I think I need to turn on some lights when I get home. Like, it's one of those kinds.
Yeah, I remember it being really controversial and having a very low cinema score. I remember that. I have not seen it, so 'cause I'm a wimp
I
when it comes
wouldn't
to
I,
horror.
I wouldn't be surprised if it had like an F cinema score,
Yeah, I think it does.
like oh, it does.
I'm pretty sure. I don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure it's one of those ones that they had an F cinema score. Uh, I think so, but it had a low one. I remember that.
It was definitely very, very low.
Right, right. Very interesting. Well, my last pick is a interesting movie from the history of animation, which of course you know that I love animation. And
You
this
know.
is the this is the oldest surviving animated film. It's called The Adventures of Prince Ahmed by a Danish director named Lottie Renninger, and she used a very interesting technique where she would create silhouettes with paper, and she would cut the paper and then move it around to create the animation. And it's really pretty impressive. I think someday they should make a movie about her, because I mean, she is. I mean, they're always looking for female directors, and here you've got the first major animated film or the first animated film that's still survived, and her friends making these movies. I just think she's a really interesting person. But the movie itself is it's the Arabian Nights, it's Aladdin, and the way that she actually uses color, because she puts color behind the silhouette, a colored paper.
Mhm.
And so you see the silhouettes move, and you get the whole story, and it's really creative and really still fun to watch. And it's just barely over an hour, so and it basically, like I said, tells the Aladdin, the Arabian Nights story, and it's really fun to watch.
Yeah, I was actually watching when Marnie was there. Spoiler alert, cheap plug. I've got a review coming up. If it well, by the time this is up, it will already be up. So watching that and thinking about how like the animation was done in 1926, just thinks about like, wow, just how far technology has come, just from like how crude that sounds like from the Adventures of Prince Ahmed to when Marnie was there. It seems so surreal to think about.
Yeah, I mean, there really is a quite a journey, and you can see how influential Lottie Renninger was, especially in stop motion world, and for studios like Aardman and Leica, people like that. You can see the influence, and it certainly was influential on Disney at the time. And so, yeah, it's just a fun one to watch.
It's safe to say that this movie walked so other companies could run.
That's right. That's right. So there we go. We did it. Our recommendations on Kanopy. There's so much good stuff on there. So make
Hmm.
sure you take a look and let us know what you've been watching on Kanopy.
Yeah, Kanopy really is a treasure trove. Like there's
Mm-hmm.
something for everybody there.
Yeah, absolutely. So Ryan, where can people find you?
They can find me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd at RyanCam20. Then there's, of course, my YouTube channel, which is just called RyanCam. I want to thank everybody for checking out my Encanto review. That review blew up. I think it's either close to 50 views or is about to be at 50 views, which for my channel is just nuts to think about. So I thank you all for checking that out. Also, throughout the rest of November, which is just a couple days, I'm going to have reviews up for When Marnie Was There. I just have 2 Ghibli movies left to review by the end of the year. One is that Earwig movie that nobody likes, so pray for me for that. And Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind, which
Oh.
is strangely, like, is weirdly not a Ghibli movie. It's like, it is, but it isn't. It's weird.
Are you going to
From
do Castle Cagliostro, the Lupin movie?
No, I think I will do it in an isolated,
Mm.
but I'm just bouncing it based off of their Wikipedia page, just off of works, and then all of them listed there.
'Cause that one is Miyazaki's first feature that he directed. But yeah, it's not technically Studio Ghibli, but it's pretty fun. If
Considering that he's coming out of retirement, I definitely will have to be reviewing it now.
Yeah, cool.
And as far as the rest, I got a Daniel Craig Bond review and ranking video that has been long delayed, but it will be out. And then all throughout the month of December, it's going to be my series, The 25 Reviews of Christmas. I'm going to be reviewing 25 Christmas movies in 25 days. First couple of reviews are Christmas in Connecticut, It's a Wonderful Life, the Scrooge movie starring Alistair Sim, and White Christmas. So
it's like my greatest hits list.
So
That's
a lot
a really good one.
Christmas fun going on there. I've got my decorations all set up. I don't know if you all can see them back there. My stockings are just kind of lolling off to the side, but they'll be up, they'll be out. It's about to be Christmas time, so a lot of fun. Also, I'm venturing out to do collabs with the Suit Up Geeks, and I'm going to be defending my trivia championship in an action movie battle coming up, and doing collabs with Brevin Fleeks and Games and Jacob Martin. So a lot of stuff going down. So if you want to check me out, please do.
Definitely check it all out. And you can find me at Rachel's Reviews, all over social media, iTunes, YouTube, and on Rotten Tomatoes. So check that out. And also make sure you check out the Hallmarkies podcast. Got lots of fun stuff going on over there. We have like 9 episodes this week, which is bananas, but I'm excited. So make sure to check that out. And and thanks so much, everybody. And we will we'll talk to you all later. Bye, everyone.
Bye.